Hi. So if you know anything about me, you know two things. One, huge video game player. Two, even bigger pervert. So in my life, sex and video games tend to overlap a lot. Okay, bad example. But my point is, as video games become more ingrained in our day-to-day lives, and sexuality has always been a part of our daily existence, certain topics, especially in the modern age, are going to start seeping in. Today I'd like to address the concept of transsexuality in video games. Recently, one video game, Baldur's Gate Siege Dragonspear, came under fire due to the inclusion of a character named Miss Huna. Through a little bit of optional dialogue, you can discover that Mizuna is actually, in fact, a transgender character, or at least, the mystical, supernatural equivalent of what would be in a D&D universe. Now, if you were a normal person, you're probably thinking, okay, cool, a little bit of dialogue, can we go back to killing dragons now, blah, blah, blah. But apparently, since the entire internet had gone through all the porn and was just waiting on more to be made, decided to take this little molehill and make not just a mountain, but pretty much an entire mountain range out of it, screaming that this was part of a social justice warrior agenda. This was just basic pandering. This didn't belong in a video game. Mind you, this is a video game about, dragons and wizards and demons, but transgender people, that's not believable. Which really struck me as odd. I mean, why was this such a big deal? It's a couple of lines about one character in a video game. It's not that big a deal. It's basically more of a footnote to the character than anything else. And let's face it, this shouldn't be that big a deal. We've had transgender characters in video games for years. Literally for years. King from the King of Fighters series is a girl who dresses up like a man to compete in fighting tournaments. Depending on which country you play it in, Poison from the Final Fight series is actually a guy who dresses up and pretends he's a girl. Flea from Chrono Trigger is a guy who appears as a girl. Hell, going back even farther than that, back to the days of Super Mario Bros. 2, we had Birdo, who, besides looking like something you'd find in the bargain bin at an adult toy store, is listed officially in the Super Mario Bros. 2 manual as a boy who thinks he's a girl. I should point out, by the way, that in most media, Birdo is seen dating Yoshi, who's a male dinosaur, which means that although Nintendo's been behind in the console wars technologically for years, over a decade now, they've been way ahead of us on the social progressive curve. So, good on you, Nintendo. So it's confusing to me that after all this, we still have such an issue with a transgender character in a video game. Hell, the one thing that boggles my mind is when they announced the remake of Final Fantasy VII, arguably one of the most beloved video games of all time, one of the things the fans wanted more than anything to be kept in the remake is the bathhouse scene. A scene in the game where, I kid you not, the main character, Cloud, actually has to dress up like a woman and infiltrate a gay bathhouse. Yeah, we gamers did that. And we did that in 1997. So in 2016, having a transgender character shouldn't even be a blip on our radar, okay? At this point, we should have been tripping over so many different sexual orientations and genders like we were characters in a horror movie run away from the killer. Cha, 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 kill, 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 kill. So at this point, this kind of character shouldn't have been vilified. It should have been celebrated. As the medium video game grows and we try to be more inclusive, try to appeal to everyone, try to get, be as recognized as books, movies, television, theater, we're going to have to start incorporating things from the real world into our digital space. And let's face it, things like transgenderism and sexual identity are becoming a very big part of our culture, so therefore they need to be a big part of the video game culture. We can't, you know, we have to start talking about them, and not just in forum posts where we start, making death threats against the developers because they want to try something new, or they try to include more relevant social commentary into their video games. It is said that art, and let's face it, video games are a modern day equivalent of art, it reflects the society in which we live. And honestly, at the end of the day, what do we want that reflection to show? That we interact with the world, we try to represent the world as best we could, or we wanted to stick to our own personal Stone Age beliefs. I'll leave it to you. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, as well as any other topics you'd like to hear me ramble about, possibly after a fifth of vodka. That's it for my 2 cents. I'll see you next time, and remember, play it weird.